Now, we think we can all agree that there is no one perfect way to go on a camping trip. There's no necessarily right way to go camping. We all come from different experiences, different backgrounds, and ways that we have maybe spent our time in the past being out on a camping trip. And whether that was camping out of the car or it was in a travel trailer, spending more time in a developed campground, or really roughing it and just trying to be as minimal as possible. But I think we can all agree that there are gear items that are absolutely necessary as part of the kit and the experience that we want to have on a camping trip. And then there are items that I would call an upgrade, a luxury, things that add some convenience and a little bit more to the experience. And today, I want to talk about a few of those items that would be an upgrade and to ultimately decide if they are worth the investment for your camping. Now, the gear I'm talking about today is a 12-volt fridge that is powered by a power station and then a solar panel that accompanies the power station to keep it topped off and charged so that I can power and charge any electronic devices that I bring with me on my trip. Now, when you look at these three items together as a whole, are they absolutely necessary for me to go out on a camping trip and enjoy myself? The answer is no. That's an obvious, but these are items that I have found add a lot of convenience and a little bit more enjoyment to my trips, and they're an upgrade. They are a nice to have, and I want to talk about the pros and cons of each item and ultimately decide, are they worth investing your money into? That is the goal of this video today. I do also want to thank UDPOWER for sponsoring this video today, and we are going to start by talking about this device here, which is the S1200 power station. Now, I started using power stations on my camping trips about 4 years ago when I got my first 12-volt fridge and I needed a way to power the fridge. And over that time, I've used several different brands, different watt-hour capacities, different features, and all of that. And what I have landed on as my baseline and go-to for a weekend camping trip is a power station that has about a 1,000 watt-hour capacity. I find that that is enough power for me to get through the weekend, power my fridge, and also charge any of the electronics that I'm taking with me on my trip, whether that is iPads that my kids are using to watch movies in the tent, or it is camera gear, it's lanterns, it's headlamps, the things that need to be charged and powered while I'm out on my trip. Anything smaller than that, and then I really absolutely need some kind of supplemental power like a solar panel for me to keep the power station charged. So when you look at the pros and cons of a power station, the pros are some of those things that I just mentioned, the ability to power your devices, but it also provides a lot of flexibility and the opportunity for some variety in what you take with you on your trip. And one of those items might be some cooking gear. And in this case, if you want to switch things up and be a little bit different, maybe you're cooking on an induction cooktop as opposed to taking propane or a gas burner. So if we turn on the S1200 here, this has like an 1800 watt power to it. This S1200 power station from UDPOWER has a max output of 1800 watts. So we're going to see how this does, but I need to get a pot that works on the induction burner or cooktop to make it so that this will actually function. But the reason that I'm showing this is it provides the flexibility. It provides the variety of options because we're not all camping the exact same way. Maybe we are doing the van life thing and we want to have the simplicity of not having that fumes and everything that comes with cooking on a gas stove and the convenience of being able to easily put it away. Or if I'm in a travel trailer or I'm cooking on the back of my truck, the truck bed on the tailgate, I want the options to do that. So if I power this on, yeah, there we go. I have that flexibility of using this power station to run a cooktop and boil water and do my cooking without having to have propane and other means of the cooking. Let's crank this up. Let's go 400 for the temperature and see what kind of output that is creating. So we are at 1100 watts of output right now with this induction cooktop. So I've now been running the induction cooktop here for close to 10 minutes at this point, and let's see what kind of battery usage we have consumed. It started at 77% and we are down to now 61%. I'm gonna go ahead and power this off so that it cools down. But in about a 5-minute period of time, I got to a full boil of this 3 cups of water or so in this pot, which I think is great. Now, this is where the cons of a power station come into play. If I am using a bunch of devices that require a lot of wattage output, then I'm going to consume the power of my battery very quickly. Like 15% or whatever of battery usage in that 10 minutes is a lot of battery usage if I am out in an area that is not going to get a lot of sun, a lot of like tree canopy where I am relying on solar to recharge. Then I'm going to find myself in a pickle pretty dang quick because I'm not going to get the solar input to recharge the device in that time that I'm out on my trip or out on an overcast, not super sunny day. You have to take those things into consideration. Now for me, a weekend trip, I'm getting by no problem with about a 1000 watt hour power station, but in an instance where I need a lot of things to be powered, then it may not be the best option and I need to adjust my approach to the gear that I'm taking on my trip. But if I can ensure that I can power all the things and stay charged and charge it through the inverter on my car in the 12 volts, then it may not be an issue at all. You just got to do the math. You got to look at what your needs are and make sure that it all fits together to work for the duration of your trip. Now let's talk about this S1200 power station from UDPOWER here for a second, the specs and features of this. This is the S1200, the 1200 meaning that that's the watt hour capacity of the unit. It's actually 1191 watt hours on the tech specs, but it's enough power for me for a weekend trip. Now, your max watt output on this is 1800 watts. The standard wattage output is 1200 watts, which has worked just fine with this up to that 1100, and it's not tripping anything or giving me warnings or being a problem. So that's really cool to see. This also has a bunch of different outputs. Now I've got a 15 watt wireless charging pad here on the top of the unit. I've got 5 AC outlets and then 6 USB ports. I've got 2 USB-C ports that are each 100 watts of output, which is really cool to see. And then I've got 4 USB-A outputs for me to charge whatever things I need to charge. And then my 12 volt cigarette lighter that I plug my 12 volt fridge into, and then those 2 smaller 12 volt outputs for whatever 12 volt things plug into those. But a lot of flexibility with the S1200 here. You also have solar input. Now what's cool about the S1200, I'm gonna unplug this actually, is I have solar in on the back of the unit as well as my AC input. I like the ability to charge the unit from the back. That's super cool. Now lastly, with the S1200 here, it uses a lithium iron phosphate battery, which is a really nice stable battery that after 4,000 charge cycles, it will still hold 70% of its battery capacity, which basically means this is a lifetime battery. It's gonna last a super, super long time. And the $649 price point, I think is a fair price to pay for everything that this power station provides. So I really wanna thank UDPOWER for sponsoring this video today and being the example power station in this discussion of these items that we are talking about today for your camping. Now next up here, 12-volt fridges, pros and cons, why you may or may not choose to invest into a 12-volt fridge. I will come out and say that this is one of the best investments that I've made into my camping because the pros. I don't have to worry about ice. I get consistent temperatures of the food inside of the fridge. It is super convenient, and in a lot of times or cases, it is also a smaller form factor and a smaller space than the equal size of cooler that I would be taking, that in order to have enough ice to keep everything cold long enough and have the same amount of food that I'm putting in here inside of the cooler, I gotta have a much larger size cooler, then it's taking up more space in my car, all those things. This is also not a huge power consumption, and you can find fridges for a fairly low cost. So for me, all of those pros really outweigh the cons of the use of a fridge versus a standard ice chest or a cooler. I have found that coolers are just annoying to use. They absolutely work for what they are intended to be used for, and they have their specific use cases as well. A 12-volt fridge is not going to be the best option in every case. This has a bunch of electronics in it. It has a compressor. It has things that can fail and go bad. On a cooler, maybe the worst thing you have to worry about is the hinges. Over time, the hinge is wearing out and breaking or having problems, and then it doesn't work that way. Otherwise, there's no moving parts. There's not things that can really be a problem in the long term, and maybe you're using the same cooler for 20, 30, 40 years, which may be the case for some of you that are watching. You've had the same cooler for that period of time. I can't say that the compressor and the electronics of this fridge are going to last for that amount of time. Now, this is the IceCo VL35 Pro. I've been using this, I think, for about 2 years at this point, 2.5 years, and I've had zero issues with it. It is the perfect size fridge for my family of 5 total plus a dog, and we're able to get all of our food for a weekend trip, drinks, things in here so that we're able to enjoy ourselves with really good food out on our camping trips. The other thing I really enjoy about a fridge is a little bit more flexibility in temperature, in the fact that I can bring all sorts of different kinds of food. For example, we went on a trip last week where we needed to transport frozen food items, and they needed to stay frozen for the entire time that we were driving on our trip. A cooler is not going to provide the ability for that to happen. It is not going to stay cold enough for that period of time, and things are going to start to thaw and defrost, and it'll be a problem. But I'm able to turn the temperature way down on this like I would any freezer at home, and essentially use this as a legit freezer. Now, it's going to use quite a bit more power when it's doing that, running the compressor more often, all of that. And that is just something to pay attention to, that when you are choosing your power station to power your fridge, which is pretty much necessary for the vast majority of us, then you got to make sure your power station has enough watt-hour capacity to do that. There are some people that are running their fridges in their vehicle full time, and it's running off of a dual battery system or off of the RV batteries that you might have inside of your vehicle, which is a really nice, convenient thing. That's not something that I have with my setup in my vehicles. So we run a power station and it works out just fine. Now, the 3 items that I've talked about today, the solar panel, the fridge that I'm sitting on, makes for a great seat, and the power station, all together come in at a price point or an investment of about $1,500, which may seem like a lot of money to spend on a few pieces of camping gear. But put things into perspective and what your goals and your purpose is for going out on your trips. If you are a family or somebody that goes out and spends a lot of time in the backcountry and it is a very frequent activity for you, then I think investing into these added convenience and upgrades and luxuries is totally worth it, because that investment will pay for itself over time, and it adds those convenience factors that can make your trips a bit more enjoyable and fun that way. But if you're somebody that doesn't spend a lot of time out and you're going maybe 1, 2, or 3 times a year, then it might be a bit excessive to spend that kind of money. But there's also pros of a power station at home as an emergency device and having a solar panel to accompany it. For emergency situations, to be able to power things at home when power goes out and you don't know when it's going to turn back on, this can add some really nice convenience and help that way in those emergency situations. For me as a family, back to the camping discussion, we don't only charge and power a fridge and iPads and things. We started to do movie nights out on our camping trips. We love being out under the stars after we've had dinner. We'll make some s'mores, turn on a movie, and I need the power station to power a projector and the speaker and the laptop that I've got to be able to play a movie. Now that might seem a bit bougie and overkill and totally unnecessary and take away from the experience, but we actually find that that is one of the things we look forward to the most as a family now, is watching a movie out in the forest or in the desert, wherever we're at, and enjoying our time together as a family that way. So lots of options, lots of things to consider and questions to ask and all that. But you get to decide ultimately if it is the right investment for you. Thanks so much for watching today, guys. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe. Hope you have an awesome day. We'll catch you in the next one. See you later.